Tanyadevam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanushte Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you all to today's Ram Katha. So yesterday we reached the point where Lord Ram was shared by Sutikshna Rishi stories of Agastya. And Agastya, Sutikshna is leading Ram, Lakshmana and Sita towards the ashram of Agastya Rishi, which is very close from here, from Panchavati. So he tells him a few more stories of Agastya Rishi which were fascinating. Once when Agastya Rishi and Lopamudra were heading towards the south, we spoke yesterday about how he subdued the Vindhya mountains. And after that particular episode, when he was going further south, they reached a point where they decided to take some rest. And they were, Agastya Rishi was lying down, he was resting. And at that point, a crow came and sat on his kamandalu. So this is not an ordinary crow. It is said to be Lord Ganesh himself, who took the form of this crow and sat on this kamandalu. And the crow toppled the kamandalu. And the water from the kamandalu was flowing out. If you remember yesterday, I had shared with you all how the water from the kamandalu is? Water from the Ganga, emanating from Lord Shiva's, hair, matted hair. And that Ganga water now toppled over. So this was the only kamandalu that he had and the only source of water that he had. And for the sages, having holy water in the kamandalu is very important for their meditation. And when the water toppled over, Agastya Rishi got very upset. But the interesting thing that he saw was that the water was flowing from that kamandalu, but it was not getting over only. And the water that flowed out from the kamandalu of Agastya Rishi eventually became the Kaveri River. If you go, to the south, you will find the Kaveri River is running through so many states in South India, right? All the political problems of South India because of that one river. And that river originated from Agastya Rishi's kamandalu. Now, can you believe an entire river? If you actually go and see the size of the river, it's unbelievable. It's huge in size. And where did it originate? From the kamandalu of Agastya Rishi. So these sages are not ordinary people. They are personalities who have practically delivered civilizations, right? And that Ganga, which is accessible in the north, the same Ganga became accessible in the south because of Agastya Rishi's contribution as a Kaveri River. Eventually, Agastya Rishi settled down in the southern direction in this area. And at one point, Agastya Rishi was approached by the gods with a problem. So it is said that when Indra killed Vritrasur. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. After the killing of Vritrasur, the asuras became very weak because their leader Vritrasur was killed. And all the demigods, they were trying to search for the remaining asuras to kill them. And there was a group of people who were known as the Kalkeyas. They were, the army of Vritrasur. And the entire Kalkeya army, after the death of Vritrasur, they went and hid inside the ocean, the floor of the ocean. And of course, for those who know a little bit about, marine life, you'll realize that the ocean has no end on it, literally. If you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the oceans, the ocean can practically submerge the Himalayan mountains. That's how deep the oceans are. So to find the Kalkeyas who are inside the ocean is impossible, isn't it? They were like living on the ocean bed. But if they lived in the ocean bed and didn't trouble anybody, that was fine. But the Kalkeyas would come out in the night and go and attack people and trouble, the common man a lot. And which is why the gods wanted to really get rid of them. And they had no idea how to go and find the Kalkeyas inside the ocean. So they went to Agastya Rishi and asked him for help. Agastya Rishi, he cupped his hand and drank the entire ocean. And suddenly the ocean was empty. And the Kalkeyas were sitting there and having their time over there, suddenly they got exposed. And all the gods attacked them and killed all the Kalkeyas. And after the Kalkeyas were killed, the gods went to Agastya Rishi and told him, please release the ocean again. Now we really need the water back again. So of course, different versions say different things. But some versions of the scriptures say that Agastya Rishi urinated and all the water came out. And that's one of the reasons why the ocean is salty. So now for all those who are going to have ocean bath, you might remember this pastime and think 10 times. Well, of course it is Agastya Rishi's, Mahaprasad. So Agastya Rishi was a very, very strange and a very interesting personality. And he was very different in every sense. Practically every pastime that he did, if you see, was very different from what normally you would hear from any other sages. So by this time, Lord Ram was really excited to meet this sage because he realized that this person is really special. And Sutikshna, as he was telling different stories of Agastya Rishi, finally, he tells the story of the 7 sal trees. And this is a very interesting part of the Ramayana because a little later we will actually come across this story. So Sutikshna tells Lord Ram that many years back, while there were 7 Brahmana boys, and these youngsters, they learned mystical sciences from their guru. And after they finished their Gurukul time and they were ready to face the world, they all 7 of them, they decided to go out into the world and live life. And when they all went out and decided to live their lives, they decided that let us put our knowledge to test. How much we have learned, let us try to put it to test. And they used all the knowledge that they had together and they created a massive snake, a magical snake. They created the snake from nothing, literally. And the snake was so big that all 7 of them could stand on the snake and ride on it. Imagine creating a snake like that, And all the 7, Brahmana boys, they were riding on the snake, going around, enjoying themselves. One day, they decided to have some fun. What they did was, they made the snake coil in a circle And all 7 of them stood on the snake. And they pushed the snake into the ground. And they transformed themselves into trees. So they became 7 sal trees standing in a circle. And they were waiting for their target. And this is the origin of pranks. So all the pranks that you see nowadays, people doing on social media, this is the origin of it. And the result of it also same only. So they decided to do some prank on someone who is innocent. To their bad luck, Agastya Rishi came that side. And they decided to prank him. Can you imagine, And the moment Agastya Rishi came in between the 7 sal trees, the 7 trees started moving in closer. Now imagine, you're walking and the trees start moving towards you. It's a scary thing, right? So the 7 sal trees started moving closer and closer and closer. Agastya Rishi, immediately with his yogic power, he came to know who these 7 trees are. And he cursed them, may you remain exactly where you're standing right now. And all those 7 Brahmana boys, they became permanently trees and they got embedded in that place only. And eventually, when Lord Ram goes to Kishkinda, we will see that these 7 sal trees, is the same sal trees that Sugriv tests him with. Vali used to remove all the leaves from these trees. And Sugriv tested him with these 7 trees. And Lord Ram, because he had heard this story from Sutikshna, he knew how these 7 trees were. And he knew how to liberate them. So when we reach Hampi next year, we will see the story of these 7 sal trees and how Lord Ram liberated all of them. So then finally, Lord Ram reaches Agastya Rishi's ashram with Sutikshna. Agastya Rishi is so happy to see Lord Ram visit his ashram. Agastya Rishi welcomes Lord Ram with a lot of reverence, and Agastya Rishi he offers some very special gifts to Lord Ram. And one of the foremost of gifts that Agastya Rishi offers Lord Ram is the Tamil language. He offers the language itself to Lord Ram as a gift. So when Lord Shiva told Agastya Rishi to go to the south and start an entire civilization over there, so Agastya was asked to create a cultural revolution in the south. And Agastya, to create a cultural revolution in the south, he realized one of the most important factors to create any kind of revolution is language. And therefore, he created a unique language which is known as Tamil today. So till that point in time, Tamil language didn't exist. But because of Agastya's unique contribution, he created a language and he offered his first creation, which is a Tamil language, to Lord Ram as a gift of his love and devotion. So, this is a very interesting, episode in the lives of anybody who is connected to the South, because it's a language that is offered to Lord Ram himself. And that's why that language has a very special flavor. So many great acharyas, so many great alvars who have lived in the South, have preached in the language and have written in that language, have spoken in that language. So it's considered to be a very holy language created by Agastya Rishi and offered to Lord Ram himself. And of course, in South India, that's why people say that Lord Ram speaks in Tamil. Lord Ram is a Tamilian. So Lord Ram was also given by Agastya Rishi a set of 2 swords. And these swords, they could be used only by a person who is ambidextrous. Ambidextrous means he can use both his hands simultaneously. And this was a gift given by Agastya Rishi to Lord Ram. And then Agastya Rishi also gave Lord Ram a bow, which is embedded with the luster of Lord Vishnu and the energy of the Sudarshan Chakra. So the bow that was given by Agastya Rishi to Lord Ram was the very same bow that Lord Ram used in the battle eventually. So it had the strength of Lord Vishnu and also the energy of the Sudarshan Chakra. And along with this, he gave a quiver of arrows. And this quiver was not an ordinary quiver of arrows. This was a never-ending quiver of arrows. That means how many ever arrows you take out from it, the number of arrows in that will remain the same. So it was a never-ending quiver, So most Kshatriyas would have to get newer and newer quivers when the arrows end, right? But Lord Ram's quiver, it never ended. So many arrows were there in it. And from that quiver, Agastya Rishi removed one arrow. And he gave that in the hands of Lord Ram. And he told Lord Ram, this arrow is the most unique of all the arrows. And he said, whenever this arrow is used, it will pierce the enemies through their hearts and come out from the other side of their body. And it will fly towards the closest ocean, wash itself, and come back to the quiver. Speaking of AI, this is called arrow intelligence. Given by Agastya Rishi, thousands of years before. What an intelligent arrow, isn't it? And interestingly, this was the arrow that Lord Ram uses to kill Vali. And eventually, we realize that this arrow was given to Agastya Rishi by Indra. And that arrow was given by Agastya Rishi to Lord Ram. And eventually it was used to kill Indra's son only, Vali. So by killing Vali with that arrow, Lord Ram is sending Vali back to his father, Indra. That's like a cycle completes, basically. So after giving all these gifts, Lord Ram spends a lot of time with Agastya Rishi, hearing, so many beautiful things from Agastya Rishi and taking association of Agastya Rishi. And then eventually, Lord Ram asks him, where should we stay? And Agastya Rishi shows him the direction towards Panchavati, which is from where Agastya Rishi and Lord Ram met. From there, it was 20 miles away. So, we are now going to go to Panchavati after this Katha. So, it's a very apt, kind of progressing in the right direction, And we're going to be seeing this most beautiful place, which is directed by Agastya Rishi to Lord Ram. And of course, again, Agastya Rishi sent Ram a little more southwards. So from where he met Agastya Rishi, again, Panchavati is a little more south. And technically, Panchavati is in the middle of Janasthan. So Janasthan is the place which is considered to be the outpost of the Rakshasas. So right now, Lord Rama has come all the way from the north till Panchavati here, and he's reaching to the place where Ravan had kept his entire army there. Why he had kept an army over there? Because that is considered to be the entrance towards Lanka. From the landmass, if somebody has to go towards Lanka, they have to pass through these areas basically. And Lord Ravan had kept one outpost over there of the demons. Agastya Rishi teaches us something very valuable in his meeting with Lord Ram. Agastya Rishi gave Ram some of the most valuable things that he had. He offered it to Lord Ram. So it is explained that anything that we have, we must offer it to the Lord. And that is when that thing that you have becomes auspicious. And that thing that you have becomes worthy. All of us have something that we consider valuable, isn't it? Whatever that thing is which we consider to be our valuable, we must offer it in some service to the Lord. It could be your intelligence, it could be some skills, it could be wealth, it could be anything, it could be property, it could be, some kind of position. Whatever you have which is valuable, you must offer it in the service of the Lord. So when you offer it in the service of the Lord, it actually becomes like a completion of a circle. Because whatever you have is given to us by the Lord only. So when we use what we have back in the service of the Lord, it's actually offering back Ganga into the Ganga. So why do we offer Ganga water back into the Ganga? Because that is the best thing we can do. We can't do anything better. What can you give what can you give God? You can't give God anything, isn't it? Which He doesn't have. So what we do is that when we offer Ganga water back into the Ganga, along with that water, we add our love in it. We add our devotion in it. And then we offer it back to the Lord. Similarly, in our own lives, whatever we have, we must add a little bit of our devotion in it and offer it back to the Lord. And that's when that offering makes your talent, your abilities more beautiful. So, Lord Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita, they start moving towards Panchavati as directed by Agastya Rishi. Now, Sutikshna doesn't accompany them. Sutikshna stays back in the association of Agastya Rishi and continues serving his guru over there. So, when Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita, they start walking, they come across a very beautiful lake. The lake is so exquisitely beautiful that Sita immediately gets attracted to the lake. And they they really become attracted and start thinking that what is this lake? Why is it so attractive? And more than being attractive, there was some music coming from that lake. Now imagine a lake from which music is coming out. So they were very puzzled. Then what is going on here? There's some music coming out from this lake. So this lake, they met a sage over there named Mandarkini. And the sage was living on the banks of that lake. And Lord Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita went and visited this sage, Mandarkini. And they asked him, what is this lake and what is the story behind this lake? And this Mandarkini, he started narrating. It was the story of Mandarkini himself. So, this sage Mandarkini, he wanted to meditate in a soundproof room. Sometimes when we are chanting, we want to chant in a place which is quiet, secluded, peaceful, isn't it? Most of the times when we're chanting, chanting in your own homes, somebody is snoring next to you while you're chanting, Not a very conducive atmosphere to chant, isn't it? Not a very inspiring atmosphere to chant. Now, if somebody is sleeping and you have to chant at that time, how will you chant focused, isn't it? You will feel like sleeping yourself, isn't it? Or if somebody is, watching television and you're chanting, how will you chant? So everyone aspires at least once in a lifetime to live in a soundproof room, where absolutely no one is there to disturb you, so I can chant nicely, So Mandarkini, he wanted to meditate in a soundproof room, and he used his powers, ascetic powers, tapasya powers, to create a 8-mile wide lake. And he went into the bottom of this lake and he would meditate over there. Now, the sages have very unique ways of finding unique locations to meditate, right? Now, if you actually travel around the length and breadth of India, you'll find some of the most scenic places in the world are places where sages have made meditating. The most scenic places in the world. I mean, there is a place where, which is way up in the north in Himachal. And this is a place practically you will never ever think of going also. There Parashar Muni used to meditate. And I went over there last year. And if you go there, you'll be amazed by the scenic beauty of that place. And that is where Vyasdeva was born. There's a lake over there. In the middle of the lake, there's an island on which Vyasdeva was born. So now Mandarkini, he went deep into the ocean, into the lake, and he would sit alone, and for hours and hours together he was meditating. And he was meditating so intensely that Indra became very insecure. And Indra sent 5 Apsaras from the heavens. And these 5 Apsaras were some of the most beautiful Apsaras in the heavenly planets. And he went, these 5 Apsaras went and they went inside the lake. And inside the lake, they started dancing and singing. And imagine, This fellow went to sing, meditate over there. And there also, all this music and dance and all is happening. Most of us go to Vrindavan for some peace, isn't it? But you walk around Vrindavan, my God, so much chaos, so much of chaos, right? So everyone is, this is the whole idea. The whole idea of spiritual life is that we have to thrive in chaos. You can't expect that there'll be absolutely stillness, absolutely quiet, and then you will meditate. There will be crying babies around you and still you have to meditate. There'll be, Bollywood music around you and still you have to meditate. There will be all kinds of confusions and chaos in life and still you have to meditate. Don't wait for a time when there is absolute perfect time to meditate. If you wait for such a perfect time in this material world, you will not get it only. So we have to learn to meditate in whatever situation of life is there and not get distracted. So the sage, he became so distracted by this, dancing and singing of the Apsaras that he also joined them in singing and dancing. And, it is said, even till today, the Apsaras are singing and dancing in that lake and sage Mandarakini is along with them singing and dancing. And that lake is called the Fire Apsara Lake from that point onwards. And after hearing this story, suddenly Lord Ram realized this is not exactly a worshipable lake. Not all water bodies are exactly worshipable. So whenever we go on holy yatras and all that, whenever we see a water body, we go and immediately start putting water on our head. Please understand the story of the place and then do whatever you need to do. Because you never know what is the history behind these places, isn't it? And Lord Ram suddenly realized that this is a very different lake and it's a story that tells us what not to do, basically. Lord Ram, from that point, after this Fire Apsara lake, he started going further towards Panchavati. And just when he was about to enter Panchavati, something very strange happened. They came across a massive bird. The size of this bird was so huge. They had never seen anything that big in their life. And this was a giant vulture that was staring at them. And this vulture was sitting on top of a mountain. Though this vulture was sitting on top of a mountain, the mountain looked tiny compared to that vulture. That was the size of this vulture. And the interesting thing about this vulture was that, though it was looking very fierce, its eyes were closed and it was almost in a meditative state. And the vulture was emanating a particular type of aura. It almost looked saintly to them. And to make it even more interesting, the vulture was wearing a garland around its neck. Have you ever seen vulture wearing garland? Or any bird wearing a garland? So here was this massive bird wearing a garland around its neck. Probably he went to some holy place and some pujari over there put some garland around his neck, And this bird was this massive, form. So it was a very contrasting personality, Some of our devotees, they're huge bodybuilders, Nowadays, many types of devotees are coming to ISKCON. Massive bodybuilders. But very simple hearts. So it's very confusing sometimes, Is this person a devotee or not a devotee? So don't go by externals. The state of heart is more important than all the externals, right? So Ram and Lakshmana and Sita, they were taken aback by the size of this bird. But at the same time, they were taken aback seeing the saintliness of the way his personality was. And suddenly, this bird started flying towards them. So when this bird started flying towards them, it was almost like the wind, like a tornado was forming. Lakshman immediately took out his bow and arrow to attack the bird. And Lord Ram, looked at him and he said, he nodded and he told him not to. And Lakshmana immediately lowered his bow. And this bird, he came and sat very close to where Ram, Lakshmana and Sita were. And after sitting there, this bird, this giant vulture, whose name was Jatayu, he started looking at these three personalities. And he started thinking, even the demigods in the heavens don't possess the kind of aura that these three personalities have. He was thinking, their bodies are perfectly structured. There is, just looking at them, you understand they are very superior beings. And just the way these two archers, these two men are holding the bows, it reflects how confident they are. And he was thinking, why am I feeling so attracted towards these human beings? I have always stayed away from human beings, but somehow I'm feeling attracted towards these human beings. And something inside me is triggering some old memory. And he was thinking, what is it that is coming in my mind? And he decided to ask them who they were. And Jatayu, he asked the two of them, please tell me who are you all? And Ram Lakshmana introduced themselves, and in the introduction came the name of Dasharath Maharaj. And the moment Jatayu heard the word Dasharath, he became very happy. He said, now I know you all. And Jatayu recollected how many centuries back he had saved the life of Dasharath Maharaj from Shani. It is explained that both Dasharath and Jatayu were almost of the same age, 60,000 years old. Imagine, like if you have friends of the same age, it becomes very interesting, isn't it? Now imagine somebody is 60,000 years old and they are of the same age, Inconceivable, isn't it? And then Jatayu heard from Ram Lakshman and about the death of their father, Dasharath Maharaj. Jatayu started crying tears because though they had a very brief time together, they really connected in their hearts. And Jatayu really became great friends with Dasharath Maharaj. And though they never ever met again, the connection remained. There are some people that come into your life for a short period of time. But that little duration that you spend with them, the impact is long lasting. It lasts forever. And then there are some people that remain with us for a long period of time, no impact only. No, heart-to-heart connections, right? So here is a very interesting example of friendship. Probably Dasharath and Jatayu met only once. I have not come across any history where they have met a second time. But yet, after so many centuries also, Jatayu is crying tears, thinking about his friend and feeling that connection with his friend. That's the kind of friendships, that's the kind of relationships that we all should seek for. Those that really make a deep impact in your heart. It doesn't need to be on a daily basis. You don't need to talk to them on a daily basis. You don't need to be in touch with them. You don't need to go on trips with them. Nothing. It's just that somewhere in some corner of the world, somewhere there is somebody whom I connect with heart to heart, right? So Jatayu, he took it on himself now. Now that Dasharath's name was mentioned, Jatayu took it on himself as a responsibility. He said, oh, you all are orphans. You don't have a father. Don't worry. I am there for you all. Ram Lakshman didn't ask for any help. But Jatayu just felt that I need to help them. I need to take care of them. He just felt responsible for taking care of them. Imagine the heart of Jatayu, right? And he promised Ram and Lakshman that I will guard Sita. When both of you are busy doing your work, I will guard Sita. And, he said, I will guard Sita from far. Now, of course, Jatayu he was a vulture. He had the eyes that could see miles together, right? So even if you are sitting miles away, Now you might be wondering, Taket is so far away, and from there Panchavati is so far away, and potentially if Jatayu was in that area, how could he guard Sita? That's what vulture's eyes are for. Sampati could see Sita across the ocean, 800 miles away. Now, Sampati is Jatayu's brother. Obviously, Jatayu can also see a few hundred miles away, isn't it? And he promised to guard Sita, and he guided Ram, Lakshman, Sita towards Panchavati. A lot of times, very unlikely friendships are formed with people that you never expect with. So, typically, the way we look for friends is we look for friends who are of the same age. We look for friends who are of the same socio-economic status. We look for friends who are of the same interest, spiritually or even, materially. We look for friends who are doing similar businesses or similar work, We look for friends who live in a similar neighborhood, These are the kind of friends that we look for typically, right? But sometimes, the people you think can never be your friend, you think, this guy, impossible. I don't think I can ever even speak to this fellow. Or I can never even associate with this person. You might form some friendships that are so unlikely. And interestingly, those are the best friendships in life. So don't always look for, people who are in the same frequency as you. Explore other types of friendships. Explore other types of personalities, and it might surprise you the kind of connections you develop in life. That's what a yatra is meant for. And this yatra is a combination of some of the most unique people. Each one of you all are so unique by yourself, isn't it? We come from different countries, different cities, different states, different nationalities, different languages, but yet there is something that is common, which is Krishna, right? And sometimes friendships that get formed in these yatras, they are some of the most powerful and lasting friendships that ever get created. Of course, even some marriages happen in these yatras. You'll never know what kind of connections happen, when we are in such settings, right? You meet people that you would never likely meet in your life. And yet, when we make these connections, these are connections that last for a lifetime and sometimes beyond a lifetime. People who are our own families, our own relatives, our own friends, our own very close, those who we have lived with all life long, they are the ones who disappoint you the most. And the people that you have no expectations from, they are the ones who really, connect with you in the most unique ways, unimaginably. So here is a relationship between, unlikely people, Jatayu and Ram, Lakshman, Sita. No connection at all, no logical connection at all. And yet they formed a bond that lasted for beyond a lifetime practically. And the bond that they are forming over here, it's so powerful that at the most important moments of Sita and Ram's life, they remember Jatayu only. At defining moments of Ram's life, they remember the Sita and Ram, remember Jatayu. That's the kind of depth of that bond that formed over there. And of course, throughout the stay in Panchavati, it is not that they kept going and meeting Jatayu all the time. Jatayu was there very far away and just looking at them and taking care of them. It's very interesting, right? No expectations, no risk, no formal ties or bonds, but yet there is so much of love. Sometimes when you have too much expectations from people, it really disturbs you. When you have no expectation only, people surprise you quite a lot. So Jatayu, he flew above them. And by flying above with a shadow which was on the ground, he was directing them towards Panchavati. And when they reached the spot of Panchavati where they were destined to live, to stay, as directed by Agastya Rishi, then Jatayu flew away back to his own home. So when they reached Panchavati, Lord Ram asked Lakshman to select a place to build a cottage, a home for them. So Ram told Lakshman, please select a place to build a house. Lakshman immediately tells Lord Ram, please don't give me independence. He says, when you give me a choice, you choose which place to build the house. You are making me independent of you. Lakshman is telling Lord Ram. And by saying that I should pick the spot, you are telling me that I am independent from you. He says, even if I am to serve you for 100 years, Lakshman says, the only thing I request you, my Lord, is I don't want any independence. And he says, I exist because I depend on you. My happiness lies in making you happy. And he says, just like there's no sunshine without the sun, similar, and there's no fragrance without flowers, and there is no self without the Supreme Lord. Similarly, there is no Lakshman without Ram. So Lakshman tells Lord Ram, please don't give me independence. And I found this discussion and this mood of Lakshman to be very interesting, mood. In this world, people want to be independent, isn't it? Everyone wants independence. In the Western world, the moment a person becomes 18, they're out of their homes. They never ever come back to their homes, literally, They're completely independent. And parents also wait when the child will turn 18, so I can become independent. That's the mindset in the Western world. Of course, today it's very much coming in India also. But this idea of wanting to become independent is a very dangerous idea spiritually. Many of us, as we grow in our own spiritual journeys, we also want to become independent. But internally, in our heart of hearts, we must always be dependent on our gurus. We must always be dependent on our, teachers, mentors, guides, those who are senior to us, those who are valuable to us. We must always be dependent on them. Dependent doesn't mean slave. Dependent doesn't mean that you do not think on your own. Dependent simply means that you are independently thoughtful, but in your heart, you feel that I am dependent on my teachers, on my gurus. Because for the mercy that comes from there only. So you can use your intelligence, you can use your abilities, you can use your thinking, you can use your talents. But at the same time, in your heart of heart, you should feel, I am dependent on the mercy of my predecessors, my acharyas, my teachers, my gurus. That connection is what Lakshmana is teaching us here. And Lakshmana is supposed to be the Adi Guru, right? He's teaching us what is the right mood spiritually. And how does one express independence? The way we express independence is making choices. And that is why, when we take the most crucial decisions of life, it is good to go and take guidance from your teachers, from your gurus, from your guides. You don't have to go and ask them for every small thing. You don't have to say, can I go to Susu? That's not what independence is. That's not what dependence is. For the petty small things of life, you don't need, to go and, consult all the time. That's for small kids, isn't it? But as you grow in your spiritual journey and as you grow in your personal sadhana, and especially as you become more and more senior, the crucial junctures of life where you make decisions, choices that are going to affect your spiritual journey a lot, in those crucial junctures of life, seek guidance. And that is actually showing dependence. And of course, you seek guidance and follow what they're saying. Take their guidance seriously. Not that you seek guidance and then you do what you want, So this is a very beautiful lesson from Lakshmana over here. So when Lakshmana says like that, Ram chooses a small hillock. And this hillock is surrounded by the Godavari River, and next to it is also a lake. Lord Ram tells Lakshman, this is the ideal place to create a house. And of course, then Lakshman gets on to making a very beautiful house over there. So Lakshman, he spends so much of time, hours and days of efforts, and he creates the most beautiful house that Lord Ram had ever seen. When Ram, Lakshman, and Sita, they enter the house, Ram is fascinated by the details that is there in this house. Every nook and corner of the house was something unique created by Lakshman. And mind you, Lakshman did not have any manpower, he did not have any resources, he did not have any wealth. Whatever he created from what is available in nature around him. He used the mud, he used the rocks, he used the leaves and the fruits and the plants, whatever was available around him, he used that only to create the most unique house. Sita and Ram were fascinated by the house. Lord Ram said, what a magnificent house you have created. He says, every time you exhibit your talents, I become more and more fascinated by you. And he says, what can I offer you in return? You have created a masterpiece. And he says, Lord Ram tells Lakshman, I have nothing to offer you except my embrace. And saying this, Ram embraces Lakshman very tightly. The interesting thing in this discussion is how Lord Ram is fascinated by Lakshman's talents. The spiritual master is, and the Supreme Lord, whatever you do for their service, they are so grateful and they are so fascinated by whatever you do for them. Of course, you know that whatever you do for them is their grace only, is by their blessings only. But still, when they talk to you, when they share with you, they show fascination. And that is so beautiful. Lakshman did some service. And Ram could have said, okay, fine, thank you very much. And he could have gone and stayed inside, locked the door, and continued his. But the fascination that Ram shows for Lakshman is something that is amazing. Recently, I did this course on the journey home for 7 sessions, isn't it? And then Radharan Maharaj came for that very historic class, on the journey home. Many devotees told me that's one of the best classes that they've ever heard from Maharaj in their lives. But what happened after the class is more interesting. Immediately after the lecture got over, Maharaj disconnected, I disconnected. Immediately after that, Maharaj sent me a message. If you are free, please call me. And I called him immediately, And after that, he spoke to me for 1.5 hours after the lecture got over. And for 1.5 hours, he was doing 2 things. One, first, he appreciated a lot the effort that I put in and the course that happened and the session itself. And then, I don't know how many of you have seen the handout, the book that we created on the journey home, right? Based on the journey home. Maharaj told me, and in the morning I just told him that, we have this handout, just see if you can just go through it so that you understand what I have done in this course. After the class, Maharaj tells me, I read every word in that book. So the whole day, he sat and read every word in that book. And then he said, I loved it. It was very beautiful. It was very well made. And then he spent almost an hour discussing that book with me. How I can improve on it. What are the every drawing, every illustration that was there in the book, he gave me feedback. I didn't wear this shirt. I was not wearing this type of buttons. Every single detail. Gary didn't look like this. And he's telling me how much hair Gary had, how much hair he had. He's saying, I never had a beard in my entire life, He's saying, this looks like Jesus Christ, Meticulous details about, every single aspect of that book. and everything about that course. And I was feeling, wow, I mean, this 1.5 hours that I spent with him, that was worth putting that, I don't know how many number of hours I would have spent in creating that course and, doing that course. But the time that I spent with him and the way he was admiring and the way he was appreciating everything that I did, I felt it was worth that whole effort. So this is the fascinating, and this is exactly what Lord Ram is doing with Lakshman, right? It creates when you see that the people that you are doing it for, they feel fascinated by what you're doing for them. I mean, we understand that it's not about me at all. It's not about what I am doing. It's just I am fascinated by how he is fascinated. So Lakshmana was in the same situation here. He was so fascinated that Ram is fascinated by his service. And Lord Ram goes on to describe Lakshmana. He says, my dear brother, you are bhavagya, kritagya and dharmagya. He tells Lakshman, you are bhavagya because you know the feelings of others well. So he says, you understood my heart without having me to express it to you. There are some people, after you tell them also, they don't understand what you're feeling, isn't it? And there are some people, without you telling them also, they understand what you're feeling. That's called bhavagya. Gya comes from the word knowledge. And bhavagya means the one who understands your bhava or emotions. It's called bhavagya. And Ram tells Lakshman, in this house, you have created a room where I and Sita can spend time privately together. Now, as a brother, I wanted it, but I couldn't tell it to you because it's odd, right? To tell a brother, I need a private room with Sita. But Lakshman understood it. He understood the bhava of Lord Ram and he created a room where Ram and Sita can have privacy. So, he says, you are bhavagya. You understand the bhava of the others without telling it also. Ideal disciple is someone who understands the spiritual master's desires, the spiritual master's feelings, words, without the spiritual master having to express it. So when the spiritual master has to tell you, I don't want this, or tell you that I want this, it's not considered to be high-class service. When you understand the bhava, the mood of the spiritual master, and you just get it, that's high class. And how do you understand the bhava of the spiritual master? You understand the bhava of the spiritual master by observing him and by hearing him. When you hear the spiritual master's instructions very carefully, the words of the Guru very carefully, the words of the Supreme Lord very carefully, the Bhagavad Gita, whenever Krishna speaks, in any of the scriptures, whether it is the Bhagavatam, whether it is the Ramayana, whether it is the Gita, whether it is any of the Puranas, wherever you hear the words of Krishna coming out. There are so many episodes in the Bhagavatam, right? Where Krishna's words come out, where he is speaking himself. That's where the bhava of the Lord is hidden. That's how you can understand how the Lord thinks. That's how you can understand what is the Lord's desire. And great devotees are very careful of observing the bhava of the Lord and noting it down. And whatever they do it in a way that makes the Lord happy. They do it in the way that makes the spiritual master happy. And those are the devotees that get the greatest favor of the Lord and the spiritual master. So, so Lakshman, Lord Ram said, you are bhavagya. And then he said, you are so competent. Competence and skill are excellent in everything you do. See, whatever we do, we can do it in a shabby way or we can do it with all our hearts, right? Anybody, whatever, anything you do, even if it is safe cooking, you can understand what effort has gone into cooking, isn't it? When you eat the prasad here, can you not make out how much effort has gone in? Every item, you can make out that there is a lot of effort that has gone in. No corners have been cut, right? So whenever you find that there is a lot of effort gone into anything, whatever you do, it may be cooking for your children, it may be keeping your house clean, it may be, even driving a car, whatever you do, there can be heart invested in it, or it can be done just for the sake of doing it. I'm sure all of you will travel in, these taxis and cars, right? There are some drivers that really put their heart into what they're doing, isn't it? and you can feel it. And there are some drivers who really hate what they're doing, and that also you can feel it, isn't it? So anything that you do in your life, if you have your heart in it, you can be a doctor, and you can be a doctor very mechanically, just doing it for the sake of doing it. Or you can be a doctor who is really concerned about healing people, concerned about helping people. So anything that you do where your heart is really involved in it, it's not just skill and competence. It is skill and competence with knowledge. That's called kritagya. Krita means action and gya means knowledge. So when action is done with the heart, that action, that competence is another level of competence, right? And you can really make out the difference. And that's the understanding that Ram is giving over here to Lakshmana. You are kritagya. Every single part of this house, I can see your skill there. Lakshman didn't have to do it. What he had to do is build 4 walls and a roof, isn't it? That can be done very mechanically without any heart being invested. But when you create something that is so beautiful, the Lord says, wow, I love this. If you come to our temple, Radhagopinath temple, and you see these decorations that happen, in the temple for these festivals, the kind of details that go in, 90% of the details, none of us will actually see also. What goes on in the altar, 90% of the things we won't even see. But if you are in the altar with the pujaris, actually there when they are decorating and when they're dressing the deities, you'll actually see how much of their heart is there invested in it. There are subtle things that nobody outside can see. Only the pujari can see and Krishna can see. The Lord can see. Nobody else can see. And yet the pujaris go and do it. Why they do it? Because they just feel that we want to invest our heart. This is called kritagya. This is a particular type of skill that is involved in doing it. And the more you put your heart into it, Radha Maharaj says, the proof of love is in the details. If you love someone, how much detail you're going in, that shows what your love is. I can give a lecture, 1 hour speaking is not a big deal. But if I'm really putting my heart into the lecture, you will make out. And if I'm not putting my heart, then also you will make out. There are many devotees who give lectures, but they don't put their heart. They just do a mechanical job and walk out. And I really feel it's criminal if we don't put our heart into that 1 hour, because people are investing their valuable time in that 1 hour that they're sitting to hear us. And if someone is investing, some of y'all are such busy people. To get appointment from some of y'all, it will take like hours and hours and days, and yet you have all chosen to be here, sitting in this room and investing 1 hour of your time. If I don't put my heart into this 1 hour, if I'm going to speak that 1 hour, it has to be something of substance that all of you feel is worth my 1 hour. That's called kritagya. So everything we do, when we invest our hearts in it, that becomes very attractive to the Lord and to the devotees of the Lord. So here Lord Ram was so impressed with Lakshman. He's telling Lakshman, you're kritagya. And then he says, you are dharmagya. The third thing. He says, you know the dharma of an assistant very well. Radhanath Maharaj was once asked, whom do you want as your assistant? And Maharaj gave a very interesting answer. He said, choose that person who is not fit to do anything else. Let him be my assistant. So a very interesting answer that he gave, He said, let all the qualified people who are doing very, very important things and very qualified things do other things, other services. And the one who can't do anything else can be my assistant. And of course, now there is a very subtle understanding of that, Why did Maharaj say like that? I kept thinking about that a lot. Why did Maharaj give such an instruction? Why somebody who is doing nothing else should be my assistant? Because somebody who wants to do many things, they cannot be a good assistant. You know why? Because they will be thinking about their own projects. They will be thinking about what I want to accomplish, what I want to do, what I want to achieve, isn't it? But if you really want to be a good assistant, you have to first understand the dharma of an assistant. What is dharmagya? What is the dharma of an assistant? The dharma of the assistant is that they don't have their own desires. Their desire is simply assisting the Lord and the Guru in his desires. There's one devotee in our community, Rachandra Babu, who is Maharaj's assistant. He's like the longest standing assistant till now. He is an IITian himself, longest standing assistant. And his qualification is that he doesn't have any desires. He has no desire to preach. He has no desire to build any temple or build any community. He has no desire to do something outstanding. He has no desire for fame, or he will sit there waiting for Maharaj. And if Maharaj doesn't come out of the room for 20 hours, he will still sit there only. Nothing else he'll do. And the most amazing thing is that he doesn't even eat till Maharaj eats. If Maharaj doesn't eat all day long, Rachandra doesn't eat at all. Now imagine the kind of dedication, the kind of bhakti that is there, It's not easy for anybody to do that. And especially for a qualified person to do that is not at all easy. So here, when Ram is telling Lakshman, you are dharmagya, you understand the dharma of being an assistant. So why did Ram say you are dharmagya? Because Lakshman, now he created a beautiful house. He created a beautiful house for Ram and Sita to live in. And in the entire house, he didn't create any room for himself. There's absolutely no room for himself in that house. And that's what made the house very, very interesting. And if you go to Chitrakoot, you'll see, even Panchavati here, Ram's house is in one place, and Lakshman creates a place for himself very far away from Ram and Sita, so that from there he can watch over them. But at the same time, he doesn't, intrude into their privacy. And that's what fascinated Ram the most, your dharmagya. If a spiritual master ever tells, this fellow is really dependable, this person is really someone that I feel confident of, he's a good assistant, it's a big thing actually. It's really a big thing. Because it's not easy to be an assistant, I can tell you that for sure. And the most amazing thing about Lakshman is when he did all of this, he didn't even do it with that kind of expectation that Ram will recognize him. He just did it. I mean, this is 13 years later. How many years have passed? No, this is 10 years later Ram is telling him this. This is not 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. 10 years Lakshmana has been doing this. After 10 years, Ram observed him for 10 years. And after 10 years, Ram tells him this. Now you can imagine how much impact Lakshmana has caused in Ram's heart, right? And when we look at our own lives, and when we look at our own spiritual journeys, when we look at our own spiritual growth, we have to start looking at it and measuring it from this point of view. Are we creating this kind of impact in our teachers, in our gurus, in the Supreme Lord? Is this the kind of impact that we are causing? And how can we cause this kind of impact? This kind of impact is not caused just by action. It's caused by gear. The word gear means knowledge. It's caused by cognizance of your actions. Spiritual life can be practiced with unawareness, or spiritual life can be practiced with cognizance and awareness. The more aware you are of everything you do, the more your actions are going to impact the Supreme Lord and the spiritual master. The more unaware you are of your actions, the more it is going to disappoint them and displease them. So, Ram tells Lakshman, finally, look at this, appreciation. He tells Lakshman, let me tell you, Lakshman, I don't miss our father, Dasharatha Maharaj, because I find his presence in your company. And he says, you are doing everything that a father would gladly do for his son. Imagine the level of appreciation that Ram has done for Lakshman. And imagine the impact that Lakshmana caused in Lord Ram's heart. Ram is saying, I see Dasharath Maharaj in you. What can be a greater appreciation to Lakshman than that, isn't it? So now, when Lord Ram embraced Lakshman, Lakshman felt, my life is fulfilled. He was thinking that I can experience the love of Urmila in this appreciation and in this embrace. I can experience the care of Sumitra in this embrace. And he feels that my life purpose has been attained by this one appreciation of Lord Ram. And Lakshman felt it was really worth it. थोड़ा पानी लेके आएंगे? Get some water. Lakshman felt it was worth it. Because now imagine the kind of impact that Ram has caused in Lakshman's heart by one appreciation. And the interesting thing is that when the spiritual master appreciates, in my little observation, what I have understood is that the spiritual master doesn't appreciate easily. I've been, with Radhanath Maharaj for like more than 10, 15 years, that I've been traveling around and, serving with him. And throughout these years, I found that the great teachers, they appreciate once in a while. But when they appreciate, the appreciation is so deep and so impactful. Lord Ram, it took him 10 years to give this kind of appreciation to Lakshman. So now the problem with all of us is that we expect it too soon. And we expect it too often. So the initial phase of our Krishna consciousness, when we get appreciated, it feels nice. So we say, oh, you're chanting one round, so nice, so much encouragement and so much appreciation comes. Now as we grow in our spiritual lives over a period of time, nobody asks you, are you chanting 16 rounds? You're supposed to be chanting, isn't it? So then so the initial phase, appreciation comes very easily. But as you grow in your spiritual life, appreciation comes more and more with a lot of intense effort from your side. So unfortunately, when we begin our spiritual life, we get used to appreciation and we start expecting it. Abhi kuch bolenge hamare bare mein, abhi kuch appreciate karenge. We start expecting it, unfortunately, without realizing that later on we need to earn it. We need to do something that is so good, that is so important, that we earn that appreciation. So if you get it very cheaply, you will take it also very cheaply. But when you earn it, when someone really puts their heart and appreciates you, that means you have earned it. And especially great teachers, when they put their heart and appreciate you, that means you have really earned it. And for you to earn that kind of appreciation, you have to really put in a lot of efforts and hearts. So here we find that these three qualities are the three qualities that a disciple needs to understand his spiritual master's mood. Bhavagya means understand the mind and the desires of the spiritual master. Kritagya means use the knowledge of the mind of the master to carry out the commands that the master has given to his full satisfaction. And Dharmagya means conduct yourself with alert awareness what your duties are, and don't claim facilities, don't claim appreciation and resources for executing your duties. And that is what maturity is over a period of time. So Ram, Lakshmana and Sita, they began to reside in Panchavati for a long period of time. For almost 3 years, they lived in this same area of Panchavati. And life in the forest was not an easy life. It was a difficult life. But the love and affection that they had for one another, it made them handle that life much better. One time, Ram, Lakshmana and Sita, they were going towards the Kaveri River to have a bath. We are going to go there now in some time. And you can remember this pastime while we are there in the Kaveri River. So while they were going for, having a bath on the Kaveri River, Ram tells Mother Sita, let us have a swimming competition. Sita really gets shocked because by this time they were married for 24 years. In these 24 years of their marriage, not once Sita had heard the word competition from Ram. So now Ram is saying, let's have a swimming competition. Sita was really puzzled. What's wrong, So then she says, she anyway goes on along with Ram. So then Ram tells Sita that Lakshman will stand over here on this bank of the Godavari River. We both will swim across the Godavari River, and whoever comes back first to Lakshman wins. And Sita and Ram begin the swimming competition. And Ram is a Kshatriya, a very powerful person. He swims, reaches the other bank, and is already halfway this side. Sita is still struggling to cross halfway. And Ram looks at Sita struggling, and he starts thinking, what am I going to get by winning this competition against Sita, And he goes inside the water. And he stays inside the water till Sita swims across the Godavari River and comes back and reaches the other side. And then Ram comes out and he's slowly swimming towards, Sita. So when Sita reaches the other side and she sees that Ram is still struggling to come, she starts laughing so much. She becomes so happy. She's laughing and laughing and laughing. And when Ram sees Sita laughing, he thinks this laughter was worth losing for. And he says, if I want to see Sita laughing like this, I don't mind losing all the competitions. And that's how, Ram and Sita, they experience such beautiful, loving exchanges together in this particular place known as Godavari. So the whole idea about, relationships is there are different phases that people go through together in any relationship. There are tough phases where there is struggle, there is pain, there is, so much of trauma. But at the same time, there are also happy phases, right? A good relationship is where there is a combination of all this. You laugh also sometimes, you cry also sometimes. So it's not that you always only laugh. And it's not that you only always cry. The good relationship is where there's a combination of both these aspects, right? And look at Ram and Sita's relationship. Yesterday we saw feedback that Sita gave, very intense phase, And then we saw how Sita, when she was leaving from Ayodhya, how she really wanted to be with Ram and suffer along with him. And spend so much time crying together also, right? And then here we find they're having such laughing, beautiful moments together, And that's what makes life bearable. That's what makes life, interesting. The combination of all of these things. And that's what makes relationships very beautiful. If nothing is there, if all these emotional ups and downs are not there in a relationship, the relationship is so boring, isn't it? It's so mechanical, isn't it? But when you have all these things that are happening, there's a lot of unpredictability, a lot of chaos, a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, and a lot of these combination of things, that's what makes relationships very sweet and very meaningful. And that's what we should aspire for in any relationship. One time, when Ram, Lakshmana and Sita were, walking towards the Godavari River, this was the winter time, exactly the same time that we are in right now. Of course, this is maybe 1 or 2 months later. I'm assuming somewhere in Jan, peak winter. Something very beautiful happened on the bank of the Godavari River. So, Ram, Lakshman and Sita, they were walking towards the Godavari River. It was very, very cold at that time. And the cold was so severe at that point in time that Ram, Lakshmana and Sita observed that elephants were coming towards the Godavari River to drink water. So they come at a particular time in the day, they drink water and they go back. So because it is so cold, they come down during the noon time only. They don't come in the early morning time because it's extremely cold, right? So the elephants come down in the noon time when the sun is at its peak. And when the elephants come down in the noon time, when the sun is at its peak to drink water from the Godavari River, when they try to put their trunks into the river to drink, to fetch water, the cold waves of the Godavari River hit their trunks. And the cold wave of the Godavari River is so scorching that the elephants go back without drinking water. That's the cold, levels of the Godavari River. So now, Ram, Lakshmana and Sita, they're coming to the Godavari River and they are experiencing this kind of cold. And at that time, when Ram, Lakshmana and Sita are talking to each other about the severity of the cold of the Godavari River, Lakshman tells Ram and Sita that this cold of the Godavari River is nothing compared to the cold of the Sarayu River. So Godavari River is cold, but Sarayu is much, much colder. All of us have gone to Ayodhya during winter, right? If you remember, the cold of Ayodhya and cold of Nasik is very different, isn't it? We are seeing a live demonstration, So in Ayodhya, every single one of you were covered with so many layers, and I was wearing inners and I was wearing socks and all of that. Compared to that, Nasik is much lesser in terms of cold, right? So Lakshman is telling Ram and Sita that the cold of Sarayu River is so many more times more intense than the Godavari River. And he tells, in that cold, Bharat wakes up 2 hours before Brahma Muhurta. Brahma Muhurta is technically 4:30. That's when Brahma Muhurta starts. 2 hours before Brahma Muhurta is 2 o'clock in the morning. And Bharat goes and has a bath in the freezing cold of the Sarayu River. Now imagine how cold it must be. And Lakshman tells Ram and Sita that Bharat goes to have a bath in the freezing cold of the Sarayu River at 2 o'clock in the morning because he considers himself to be inauspicious. Before anybody wakes up, he wants to have a bath in the river and walk back so that nobody sees him first thing in the morning. Because he feels he is responsible for Ram going on exile. So he thinks that I am so inauspicious that if anybody looks at me first thing in the morning, their day will get spoiled. So Bharat, he goes at 2 o'clock in the morning so that the sages don't look at him first thing in the morning. Now ideally, first thing in the morning, you should look at auspicious things. Mobile is not one of them. So whenever you get up first thing in the morning, you should create a situation in your house such that the moment you get up, the first thing that you see is something very auspicious. I set my alarm in such a way that when the alarm rings, there is a video that plays automatically. If some of you all want to see, you can see the video. I'll show you all. The video is, I don't know how many of you all know. One time I was giving a Prerna lecture, and in the middle of the Prerna lecture, Radhanath Maharaj walked in, and I was shocked. He came so close to me, I couldn't even get off to pay obeisances. He was too close. If I got off, my leg would touch him. So I couldn't even get off the seat. He came close to me and he was hugging me, embracing me. Someone took a video of that and sent it to me. That's my wake up alarm. So the moment the alarm rings, the first thing I see is Maharaj embracing me. I said, wow, this is a good day to begin. So all of us have to create situations where the first thing we see as soon as we get up is something that is very auspicious. Look at Bharat over here. Bharat is telling that I don't want to be seen by all these sages who come there for doing auspicious bath and starting their spiritual life. I want to be not seen by them. And he is sacrificing himself by getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning in the cold. Elephants are avoiding. Elephant trunks are so thick, right? Elephant's skin is so thick, isn't it? And if the skin of the elephant is so thick and they are not able to handle the cold of the Godavari River at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, what to speak of the cold of the Sarayu River, which is much, much colder. And Bharat's skin is so soft. And yet he is tolerating that because he doesn't want to cause inauspiciousness. And Bharat, he believes himself to be a sinner and he doesn't want to cause, ruination of other people's morning program. And to ensure that he gets up so early. And not only that, Lakshman tells Ram and Sita, Bharat has taken severe vows. He's taken a vow that, especially Ram took a vow that he will eat kandamula. So he took a vow in front of Mother Kaushalya that I'll eat root and shoots, and my drink will be river water and honey. So Bharat says, if Ram is eating that, he takes a vow that he will not even eat that. He eats for the 14 years, the only meal that Bharat eats, once a day he eats, barley soaked in cow urine. That's the only meal he eats for 14 years. He is the king technically of Ayodhya. He can eat Rajbhog, right? Rajbhog is like such huge number of items. But Bharat chooses to eat barley soaked in cow urine for 14 years because Ram is eating kandamul. So he says, I cannot eat kandamul also. I have to go something lower than that. So he eats barley soaked in cow urine for 14 years. And the two without salt. No taste also. And Bharat, he knows that you're sleeping on the ground. So he says, I can't sleep on the ground also. He sleeps, in a pit which is 12 feet into the ground. So imagine, see, ground itself is so cold, right? Sleeping on the, Mangalarti, you're walking on the floor, it's so cold here, isn't it? What to speak of sleeping on the floor? And what to speak of sleeping 12 feet under the ground? How cold that will be, isn't it? And Bharat chooses to sleep below the ground because he doesn't want to sleep at the same level as Ram. So he goes below, into the ground. And like this, and of course, because Ram has not worn, the clothes of a king, Bharat chooses not to wear the royal clothes, though he technically is the king. And because he chooses not to wear, he wears these same Valkal vastra, deer skin and tree bark, and he has matted hair. He's not wearing a crown. On his head, he is wearing a jata. That is what Bharat is wearing. And that kind of, sacrifice Bharat has done. So when Ram hears Lakshman speak like this, now you might ask, how did Lakshman get to know all this? Lakshman is a prince. He knows how to get information, isn't it? He has his own network. And the most amazing thing is that when they began the journey in Ayodhya, Lakshman hated Bharat. And he was almost going to kill Bharat in Chitrakoot, if you remember. From that point till here, what a transformation. He's been observing Bharat. So don't think Lakshman is not doing his duty well. He's keeping a watch on Ayodhya also. He's roaming around in the forest with them, serving them. But he very well knows what is happening in Ayodhya. He very well knows what's happening there. For the last 10 years, he's been keeping a watch on Bharat. And Lakshman is convinced that Bharat is a saint. And when Lakshman tells this to Lord Ram, he explains the whole lifestyle of Bharat and what Bharat has been doing for the last, more than 10 years. Ram starts crying tears. And for the first time in these 10 years, Lord Ram tells Lakshman, let us go back to Ayodhya. In the whole journey, 14 years, not even once Ram thinks about going back. But when Lakshman tells him this, and he tells about the suffering of Bharat, Ram is ready to break his vow and go back to Ayodhya. He thinks, for Ram to even think like that is a big thing, right? For him, his vow, his words are the most important thing. But this point, Ram actually thinks that I want to go back. That's the kind of impact that Bharat has caused on Lord Ram's heart. So, in this whole story, we find two brothers here. Lakshman, we just saw some time back, the kind of impact that Lakshman had on Lord Ram. And just now we saw the kind of impact that Bharat had on Lord Ram. And both of these brothers, the kind of impact they had on Lord Ram is so fascinating. The best thing about Lakshman and Bharat is that Lakshman was serving the body of Lord Ram. And Bharat was serving the words of Lord Ram. Vani and Vapu. When Ram told Lakshman, you stay back, stay back and, take care of our parents. Lakshman fights with him. And he says, no, I'm coming with you. He insists because Lakshman strongly believes in serving the body of Lord Ram, the Vapu of Lord Ram. Of course, not everybody gets a chance to serve the Vapu of the spiritual master. Not everybody gets a chance to serve the body of the spiritual master. Spiritual master has a small body, and that body has limited needs, isn't it? How many servants can serve him? Yeah, there was, 2-3 disciples that was trying to serve their spiritual master, and all the disciples wanted to prove to the spiritual master that I am a better servant than the other fellow. So spiritual master was resting, and these disciples were massaging him. And one was massaging his legs, one was massaging his hands, one was massaging his back. And the disciple that was massaging the legs, he wanted to show the spiritual master that I am a better disciple than the other fellow. So the person who was massaging his back, this fellow was massaging the leg, was pinched the back of the spiritual master. And he's continuing massaging the leg. Because he wants to show the spiritual master that that fellow is a bad servant. I am a good servant. He is massaging the leg and he's pinching the back of the spiritual master, And the fellow was, pressing the hand of the spiritual master. He's saying, no, I'll show that I am a better servant. Massaging the hand of the spiritual master, and he pokes the leg of the spiritual master, I mean, what kind of disciple? To prove that I am a better servant, I am causing, harm to the spiritual master, right? So many times disciples get into this whole, competitive tendency that I want to, take care of the spiritual master very nicely. Spiritual master is sitting to eat prasad and 50 items over there. Everybody, please, Maharaj, eat my item also. And he has a body that is, of a certain capacity, right? If everybody says, eat my item also, how much he will eat? Are you worried about him or are you worried about yourself? So most people are worried about themselves only. They don't care for what the spiritual master has to go through. Therefore, traveling preaching is hell. I can tell you from my experience. People don't listen to you. People don't listen to you at all. They only listen to themselves. You will tell, "Arey Baba, I don't want." "नहीं ना प्रभु जी, खा लो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? एक बार खा लो, बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छा है." I am going through hell. I am telling them. उनको समझ में नहीं आता है. खिलाओ, खिलाओ और खिलाओ. थोड़ा सा हलवा खा लो, थोड़ा ये खा लो. So the whole mood about how to serve the vapu of a teacher is not an easy thing. So Lakshmana understands that, and Lakshmana is saying, "You need me." It's not a forced thing. It's not that Lakshmana is trying to force himself on Lord Ram. He knows that he can take care of Lord Ram well. That means he doesn't, overly do things. He's not over dramatic about it. Sometimes disciples can be really dramas, right? Really, another level of dramas. Many years back, when we used to have Vyas Pujas, where public Vyas Pujas, hundreds of people used to give offerings. I don't know how many of you were ever there in those era, We used to have Vyas Puja whole day. How many of you have attended those Vyas Pujas? Some of you have attended. It would start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Vyas Puja will get over at 6 o'clock in the evening. And for all those number of hours, Maharaj was sitting on the stage hearing everybody speak. And half the offerings, you know what they were? Maharaj ate aloo in my house and he loved it. I can still remember the potato that he ate in my house. Vyas Puja offering? Really? Is that the offering that is meant to be given to glorify the spiritual master? That he loved your potato? Imagine. And these kind of emotional offerings were happening again and again. At one point, Maharaj said, "Stop this Vyas Puja. I'm done hearing potato-tomato stories, And for a few years, Vyas Puja didn't happen at all. No Vyas Puja happened. I don't know. I don't know if you'll recognize this. Completely stopped Vyas Pujas. And then, devotees went to Maharaj and asked him, why did Vyas Puja, why you're not allowing Vyas Pujas to happen? And Maharaj told him, do you know what it takes to sit over there and, hear for like 6 hours, 7 hours? He's sitting in one place, and hearing all these strange offerings, And then Maharaj himself said, change the format. And now, if some of you all have attended, this time, you will see what kind of formats are being followed. Hand-picked people, chosen, tag, 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 tag. You get a phone call and say, you have to speak. And you get a mail with list of rules and regulations, what you can speak and what you cannot speak. When I was invited to speak and I was sent that mail by Sanat Kumar, I saw that mail. The only thing that you can speak after reading that mail, the mail says you cannot share personal anecdotes, you cannot share emotional stories, you cannot share this, you cannot share that. After I read that, I said, the only thing I can say is thank you, which is acceptable, technically, after reading all those rules and regulations. And then in the end of the mail, it said, your Vyas Puja offering should be inspiring to everybody. How do you speak something that is inspiring to everybody after all these rules and regulations are sent, It's a tough call, isn't it? And that's why, when a disciple is trying to serve the spiritual master, the vapu of the spiritual master is very difficult to serve. Better to stay away from it. Because many times we think we are serving the vapu of the spiritual master, but we are actually causing more pain to him than actually serving him. So the question is, for your pleasure, do you want to give him pain? That's the question that you should ask yourself as a disciple, right? So most of us don't even know what he wants. We don't even know what he needs. We don't even know what his situation of life is. And we want to serve the body of the spiritual master. How is it fair? How is it going to be pleasing to the spiritual master? And therefore, what is safer is what Bharat is doing, serving the Vani of Lord Rama. Bharat stayed back in Ayodhya and followed the instructions of Lord Ram to the core. He understood what Lord. So to follow the Vani of the spiritual master, to serve the Vani of the spiritual master, you need to first hear him attentively. You need to understand him properly. The more attentively you hear the spiritual master, the more you understand his mood, the more you understand his way of thinking, the more you understand his personality. That's when you will be able to imbibe those words, imbibe the Vani of the spiritual master. And then what is the proof that you actually imbibed and you're serving the Vani of the spiritual master? Somewhere, some place where nobody knows you when you go there. And by looking at your behavior, by looking at the way you are, if somebody comes and asks you, are you a disciple of so and so? Then you realize, I have followed the Vani of my spiritual master. Because if you actually follow the Vani of a spiritual master, you reflect his personality. You reflect his behavior. You reflect his, mindset. You reflect the way he would do things. And when you reflect that is when you really are serving the Vani of the spiritual master. Many people think that I have heard all lectures of Prabhupada. 1,700 lectures are there. I've heard all lectures of my spiritual master. It's not just about hearing. It's not just about hearing the lecture. It's about how much you imbibe the spirit of the lecture in you. So here are two people, Lakshmana and Bharat. Both of them have imbibed the teachings of Lord Ram. They have imbibed what Lord Ram actually represents. And that's why Lord Ram is so much impressed with them, so much impacted with them. And this is the beauty of spiritual connections. While the disciple is trying to serve the spiritual master and make him happy, the spiritual master is also trying to serve his disciples and make them happy. So it's a reciprocal thing. So, Lakshmana and Bharat are trying to impress Lord Ram, and Lord Ram is also trying to impress them. Lakshmana and Bharat are trying to, invest their hearts in Lord Ram, and Lord Ram is also investing his heart in the two of them. And that is what makes the entire path of spirituality so beautiful and so powerful. With this, we come to a very crucial juncture in the Ramayana. This is a juncture which is going to be the turning point in the Ramayana. Ram, Lakshmana and Sita have settled down in Panchavati, and that's when Shurpanaka enters Panchavati. So Valmiki Muni, in his super intelligence, he uses a particular word to define, to describe how Shurpanakha comes to Janasthan, to Panchavati. The word that he uses here, he says Yadrichaya. The word Yadrichaya means, if you translate it loosely into English, it's called accidentally, coincidentally. Shurpanakha comes to Janasthan. And the most amazing thing about Valmiki Muni is that he uses the exact same word, Yadrichaya, when Manthara is on the terrace in Ayodhya and looks at the celebration down. Yadrichaya, Manthara happened to be there and she sees down. That day, imagine Manthara went to sleep early. What would happen? She would not have seen only. Next day coronation would have happened, isn't it? But Valmiki Muni says, Yadrichaya, accidentally, by mistake, coincidentally, Manthara happens to be there. The turning points in the Ramayana happened due to these two women. One is Manthara, and second is Shurpanakha. And that's why Ramayana is called sometimes as Stri Prasanga. Stri Prasanga means this book is about women who have created twists in the story. The two biggest twists in the story of Ramayana happened because of two women. One is Manthara and one is Shurpanakha. And here, when Shurpanakha enters into the Ramayana, the entire flavor of the Ramayana is going to change. The entire narration, the mood of the Ramayana completely changes. So far, Ramayana, so we are technically half into the Ramayana, right? Aranyakand is half of the Ramayana. So this is more than half. We are almost like in the second half of the half. So at this point, Shurpanakha enters and she changes the complete plot of the Ramayana. So what happens?